I think one of the main things I've learned from trying to deconstruct the patriarchy within myself is that once you learn to humanize yourself, you realize that other people don't humanize you at all. I think one thing I was also naive to.
This has not been my experience. I just want to say that this has not been my experience. The reason why I wanted to play this video is because these takes are very odd to me as a person that is saying that they are deconstructing their patriarchy and their misogyny, and they are saying very misogynistic things and very stereotypical things about women while simultaneously claiming to have done all of this work. And I just thought it was odd. And I'm not saying this brother hasn't done any work. I'm just going to point out the parts where I'm like, that's interesting.
That honestly I was called out for was the fact that I felt that as I deconstructed the patriarchy, that in turn I would gain more access to women. And
You do. I did. If you didn't, once again, maybe it's because you actually haven't done the work.
I don't mean necessarily like in a sexual way. Just I thought that as I would humanize women, I would get closer relationships with them, in a sense. But yeah, that's not true at all.
100%. That's true. 100%. That's his perspective. I'm giving you mine. We both could be wrong. I mean, I could be wrong. He could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm giving you my perspective. Not only did that happen with women in general, that happened with my wife, most importantly, right? And not only do I feel more connected to my wife, I also feel more connected to my male friends and also feel more connected to my children. So I don't know what he's talking about. And I'll tell you why it happens. I'll tell you why it happens. For me, the way that I look at it is a thing that deconstructing my misogyny is doing for me in real time is it is slowly bringing down the anger that I have and had with women. It is like bringing it like way down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like my levels of that was like really, really high, and it, not something that I knew consciously recognized, but like it was there. And the more that I deconstruct the patriarchy and the more that I deconstruct my misogyny, the lower those levels get, the lower, the smaller my ego becomes, the more that I want to be vulnerable, the more that I want to be open and all of that stuff, which makes your relationships with women and everybody else, more fulfilling. And I definitely have gotten more access. And when I said, I don't mean like you said, like not like in a romantic way, but like I said, it's giving me more access to my own wife, let alone like women in general, right? Like having like, relation, like friendships with women or whatever. Definitely. It makes it's way more fun. And the conversations we have are like way better because, I'm not like, it's not like me as a man talking to a woman. It's just like two people having a conversation and I see their humanity and I see a lot of the stuff that they're talking about that they go through. Like they can talk to me about it now. Like they could tell me like, oh yeah, no, this happened with me or da 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 da. And it ain't got nothing to do with like no relationship shit. It's just like the way that they're experiencing the world. And I'm just like, oh damn, that's crazy. Or I'm like, oh, I can see that. Or yeah, I've experienced that too as a black man or whatever. Unless, I can relate to you on some level, you know what I mean? In this system, like it just has made the connections that I have with people, but in this case, like you was talking about with women, it just made it just more strong. So no, I 100% unequivocally disagree with this. I also, if you are dating, right? If you are a single man and you're interested in dating women, I can tell you how I think it would open you up to, having access to more women in this way. Because I've talked about this before, but like men generally don't know how to communicate with women at all. They're not, two things. A, they don't know how to communicate, and or men don't want to, they don't want to communicate with women, right? They don't want to have open dialogue and, you know what I mean? And just communicate with the woman. They don't want to hear what a woman has to say, whatever, right? So in a day and age where men are just constantly sending out WYD text to women and good morning, queen and shit like that, you are the man that is having like meaningful conversations with women. If you're telling me that that doesn't get like set you apart and give you more access to women, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. If you're telling me that now that you have this different understanding about women, it wouldn't affect how you present yourself in your profiles, like online dating, I don't know what does. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like maybe you're not using it right. You're not applying it right. If you're telling me that in real life, when you approach a woman, right? I've used this as an example. But there's a show called Later Daters, right? And there was a woman on there. Later Daters is a dating show on Netflix. There was a woman on there. She was like in her 60s. And she went on a date with the man. And within like 10 minutes, the man like just blew all of his chances because he was like so overtly misogynistic. He like talked about her weave or some shit like that. And he like called her ghetto, like just like a bunch of weird shit. It was a black man with a black woman. He just like said a bunch of weird shit. And if that man wasn't so misogynistic, I think that he would have fared better with that woman. I don't know if how far he would have gotten with her, but he definitely would have fared better with her. But she wanted to leave pretty much like after like 4 or 5 of those comments. It was like the 4th or 5th one. She was just like, "Oh yeah, my Uber is here." And he was just like, "Oh, the night's still young." And she was like, "Oh, well, I have to go." Like if that's happening to you, it might be because of your misogyny. I don't think men don't actually know how much women are picking up on your misogyny. And it ain't even like the women can clock exactly what it is all the time. It's just like that feeling, that intuition, that vibe, whatever you want to call it. Women are just picking up on that in a conversation and how you approached it. Like it's just like I want to make it not be so like mythical, I guess, in this aspect, in this, you know, in this description, but like a lot of it is like they're like they're more like physical cues, right? Your postures, like I'm not even joking. It's just like how you are, it changes. It just changes you. Cause I don't think men understand how powerful the patriarchy is and how powerful misogyny is and how it works on our mind and how it warps it and how much it affects you. Right. So no, like I said, I completely disagree with the notion that like, you know, you don't gain more access to, you gain more access to your mother, to everybody, right? For real. Like, let's be for real.
I think a lot of heterosexual relationships are based on performing their gender, whatever that means in the concept of patriarchy. And I feel like a lot of women base their femininity on how you perform their gender for them. If that makes sense.
I don't know what that means. How you perform their gender for them? How you perform their gender for them? What is that? I don't know what that means. In all honesty, I don't know what that means. I don't think that means anything. Maybe you meant to say something else.
That's where this whole concept of like keeping up with the Joneses is a thing. Like in the sense of that one wife sees that another wife's husband bought them a couch. Now they have to buy a new couch for, in the sense that they have to, I don't know, compete in their femininity. This also goes into the whole like
buying a couch is competing in your femininity. Like what the fuck? What are you? Hold on, wait. What is the dude talking about?
Sees that another wife's husband bought them a couch. Now they have to buy a new couch for, in the sense that they have to, I don't know, compete in their femininity.
Are you saying because? Why would that make them more feminine? Is what I'm not understanding. Also, up with the Joneses, if anybody were to do that, it would be men. Men are way more driven by competition and things of that nature. So, and he's saying the word a lot. I don't know what a lot of women, the fact that he is talking about this on his, like, to make a video about this makes me think he thinks this is an actual issue. Like there's a significant number of women where it's noticeable. Like this is like The amount of women he's talking about is negligible. Like, what are you talking about? Keeping up with the Joneses, performing, and that's connected to their femininity. Like, I don't understand that at all. I don't understand the correlation between that whatsoever, the connection whatsoever.
This also goes into the whole, like, I would never do 50-50 with a man. Like, that would just be a roommate. Because they genuinely can't conceptualize a man being another human being like themselves. Which, I don't blame them for. Men aren't the best at advocating their own humanity. But that's just a couple of examples. That makes sense.
So in that one, I will give him that there are a lot of women who put a lot of pressure on a man to be, to perform typically masculine roles, or, the roles of men, right? Like being a provider is what he's talking about. Yep. Those women exist. I do. I 100% those women exist. No doubt about it. I don't know how many women, but I don't think I don't think it's a lot of women. I don't think it's a lot of women. I think it's really easy as a man to avoid those women. There are way more women who don't look at you like that. Secondly, those women are you. I think he doesn't understand intersectionality. He doesn't understand the intersectionality of capitalism and misogyny, right? Or the patriarchy. I don't think he's understanding that, because if it is related to money, in most cases, it is actually, most of the time, it is due to capitalism, not due to the patriarchy. Or, I mean, it has more to do with capitalism. Like, a reason why women aren't down for 50-50 is because of capitalism. It's not because, like, of these rigid gender roles. It's because women are fucking tired, and they take a lot of risk getting involved with the man, right? Which that's what you can't separate. Is like perfect intersection. The 50-50 argument, which I've broken down many a times, but the 50-50 argument is this, brother, that 50-50 only describes finances. Men, when they talk about 50-50, they never, ever, ever talk about the division of labor. That is not what men are talking about. They're only talking about finances, because men put a huge onus on making money for a reason, right? That is due to the patriarchy. Men put a huge onus on making money, and they also downplay or demean labor within the home, and they act like it's not a job, and they say it's not real work, and so on and so forth, right? Also by design. That's a function of both capitalism and the patriarchy, right? Okay, because we don't want to pay domestic laborers. We don't want to pay domestic laborers. That's a part of capitalism, right? Because if we had to pay domestic laborers, then I'm saying, like, as the husband, if you had to pay a woman that was in your home, raising your kids, cooking, cleaning, whatever, and the law says, well, you have to, if that just, yeah, okay, cool, but if you stay at home, men, you have to pay money, then we would then take that from the corporations. We would then demand $50,000 more a year from the corporations, and they can't have that. That cuts into their profit margin. So that's both a function of the patriarchy and capitalism, right? So having being in that type of relationship, women are like, look, man, I'm taking all of this risk. I'm the only one taking a risk in this relationship. I'm going to risk my life by giving birth to children. I'm also going to risk my life by being in close proximity to a fucking man, and I'm going to risk my livelihood by not working. Or they're going, if I have a baby, I'm going to make significantly less money than you as the man. So you have both of those things happening simultaneously, right? I mean, or either one of those things, or I'm sorry, all these things are happening at the same time. So the women are like, yeah, I want a man. If I'm going to do this, I want you to make all of the money. I want you to provide for me. That's not because they don't see you as a human. That's not what's going on there. And that is for most of the women, I believe, that desire that. I think that is where it's really really rooted in, right? Now, there are a few women though that are like, no, go to work, doggy, and and I don't see you as a human. But let's be real. In those relationships, the women are also not seen as human or treated as human. She's just like, hey, I'm probably going to be treated, not treated like a human anyway. At the very least, I should be getting my bills paid. That's what I'm saying. Like, so you got whatever issues that you have with this, you need to take that up with men. You need to take that up with the patriarchy. You need to take that up with the gatekeepers of capitalism. right? Not with women, not blaming women for reacting to the patriarchy and capitalism. And that is what you've been doing this video. This video is basically you whining, right, about how women react to the patriarchy and the capitalism. And you just lack all understanding.
Like, women don't actually want to tear down the patriarchy. Well, I won't say that. A lot of heterosexual, cisgendered women, I'll say that, don't actually want to tear down the patriarchy. They just want a benevolent patriarch. And women perpetuate and uphold these same.
I agree once again that there is a good amount of women who don't want to tear down the patriarchy. I agree, but I don't think it is a significant enough number for you to be talking about it in a video like this. For you acting like you actually are running into these women consistently. You're not. If you are seeing this in a lot of places, especially online, that is your algorithm. And if you are meeting these types of women, those are the type of women you are going after. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I can tell you. Because these women are hard to find. These are not easy women to find. Right? And we talk about tearing down the patriarchy. That's like saying most black people don't want to tear down racism. Most black people actually don't actively tear down racism. But if you ask black people about racism and about how it affects us, not all of us, but the vast majority of us would be against it. Right? But in our day-to-day life, you would see ways in which that we contribute to it. But does that mean that we are like, no, I just want a benevolent version of racism? Like, you wouldn't say that about black people. You wouldn't say there's a lot of black people out here that, like, I don't buy that. I don't think you would be having this conversation about black people in that way, right? Because you would understand that, once again, for the most part, those black people are also responding to capitalism, racism, misogyny, ableism, and every other ism. They're just responding to these things. Doesn't mean that you can't hold them accountable. Doesn't mean that they don't need to be reprimanded. Doesn't mean that they don't need to correct course correct. But it just means that it's not something for us to act like it's their fault or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or it's solely on them. It's mostly on the system still at the end of the day.
Benevolent patriarch. And women perpetuate and uphold these same negative ideals within the patriarchy. That's where they say things like, why are you arguing with a woman on social media? I guess like social media is a feminine thing now. But in their mind,
no, that's not what it is.
They believe that men look down on women. Mm-hmm. So in the same facet, like, if you are arguing with a woman, it doesn't make sense to them because you're supposed to just be dismissive to them.
It depends on what you're arguing about. Usually when I hear those discussions, it is rooted in like gender discussions, and it's men going back and forth with women about like trying to invalidate women's experiences. And the women are like, this is what's going on. And the men are like, no. And they're going back and forth. And then the women react to that and they go, why are you arguing with, like, why are you online arguing with a woman about things that I'm a fucking woman? Like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, also, let's also be fair and let's be clear. A lot of women say that just to piss men off. Like, I don't want to, I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to act like that's not a part of it too. Like, I've heard women say things that I know that they don't really believe, and they'll just say it just to get under a man's skin. Like, I've heard women say things that would be considered to be like homophobic or transphobic or whatever. And they're not generally like transphobic or anything or homophobic, but they say stuff in the moment because they're triggered and they're trying to trigger the men. They're trying to piss the men off. You know what I'm saying? It's not how they really, really think. And that's not an excuse. I'm not saying like, let's excuse that behavior, but I'm just saying, I don't look at that and be like, oh, these women just want to benevolent patriarch, or these women don't really want to tear down the patriarchy, or these women think that women ain't shit and they're internalizing that. Like, that's not what I'm getting from that. Also, lastly, women are telling you, why the fuck are you arguing with women? Why don't you go talk to men about what, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Go talk to men. I've gone back and forth with plenty of women, debated, argued, whatever you want to say. Most women have never said that to me. I don't know if they thought that, but they definitely have never said that to me. There is a time and a place for everything, right? I've been in spaces debating or arguing with a woman about fucking the best rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking, you know what I mean? We were just talking about whatever we wanted to talk about. On my lives, we argue, quote unquote, or debate about fucking music and pop culture and all of that type of stuff. No woman has ever put in the chat, here you go, going back and forth with women. Like, that's fine. We're talking about who is the best artist, Ja Rule or 50 Cent. Like, yeah, you can go back and forth with them about that. But men be trying to go back and forth with women about shit that women understand significantly better than we do, and we're going back and forth with them about things that are their real world lived experiences. And they like, why the fuck are you arguing with a woman? Like, shut up, go clock in. That's what they'll tell you to clock in, right?
That makes sense. That's what they say. If you go 50-50 on a date, it's not a date, because in their mind, a date is something that a man does for a woman, not an experience that's had between two individuals.
So that's what this is all about, 50-50 dating. Okay. Also, again, the 50-50 dating is this. Similar to the 50-50 relationship, right? Just so you know, brother, the patriarchy and misogyny and capitalism and racism, all these systems still exist. Whether you are unpacking it within yourself and whether another person is unpacking it in themselves, it still exists, right? So if you as a man want to be in a relationship with a woman, there are real world ramifications for that woman to be in a relationship with you, right? Some of them good, some of them bad. And she has to take into account all of these things. She has to calculate all of these things, right? If you want to convince a woman, if you want to woo a woman, if you want to show her that you are a trustworthy person, that you are a dependable person, that you are a non-threatening person, that you are a supportive person, you must, because of the patriarchy still existing, you must convince that woman. Still, even if you, no matter how much misogyny you have unpacked, me like currently unpacking my misogyny, this has opened my eyes up to this even more. That's what I'm saying. I felt like you for a second too. Don't get me wrong. There was a moment in time where I thought the same way, brother. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm not. I said the same thing. As I was unpacking it, I hadn't worked through the whole thing. I was like, yeah, well, why would a woman? This is me. This is recent. This is like 2 years, right? 2 years ago. I was like, yeah, but why wouldn't women want to be? I mean, why would a woman want to sign up to have a man pay for her if she doesn't want the, she doesn't believe in the patriarchy? And then I talked to enough women about it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. They were like, the shit is still here. Yeah, you're a nice guy, quote unquote. You're the man of the hour or whatever. Fine. But the systems are still here, and it's all men till it's no men. Still, even if you're not one of the bad men or whatever, it's still all men till it's no men. So if a woman is willing to give you a chance, you need to prove to her that you are worth being in a relationship with. Sorry. I am anti-race, right? I'm a race about abolitionist, right? I don't believe in race. I don't believe in gender anymore. Here's the thing. If a white person wanted to befriend me, they would still have to prove to me that they were a safe space for me. Still. Because last time I checked, I may have changed, but white people haven't. So last time I checked, you may have changed. These women may want to unpack and may, be against the patriarchy and all of that stuff and be feminist and all of that. But most of us ain't. Most of us haven't done the work. So they still have to take precautions, brother.
Does that make sense? The moral of all this is just to say that you shouldn't be deconstructing the patriarchy to get women. It should be a belief system. Same way I think that you shouldn't be practicing religion to get into heaven. That should just be a belief system, It's because it's not going to lead you anywhere good.
I agreed with everything he said in that little clip up until the very end when he said that it's not going to lead you anywhere good. That's wrong. I don't Religion is a different thing, different animal. But unpacking the patriarchy definitely will lead you into a better place. I categorically disagree with him, and I think that is I think it's fair to say do it for yourself. That's fair and that's fun and that's fine, and we all should be saying that and believing that and doing that. But to say that it doesn't lead to a positive is wild. It's wild. At the very least, you become more healthy. Fuck having access to other people. If you unpack your misogyny, you become a healthier individual internally. You become a healthier. A lot of our, as men, a lot of our mental diseases and whatnot, a lot of our, I believe I'm saying, a lot of our mental problems come from the patriarchy. It come from misogyny. A lot of our anxieties come from misogyny. So if you unpack it, a lot of that anxiety goes away. That is a personal thing. That's a personal journey that affects you positively, personally. So that's wild to say that, oh no, it's not going to lead you anywhere good. That's like, you got to get it together, fam. I ain't gonna hold you, but I'm rooting for you. Hopefully you continue on your journey. If you ever want to have a conversation, join the live. We can do, or whatever. We can jump on the panel. I don't care. Let's rock out.